Welcome to Sykes, the Bottom Line Pharmacy Podcast, your regular dose of pharmacy CPA advice to fuel your bottom line, featuring pharmacists, key vendors, and other innovators.
Your checks, yes, you can call me, because we the best, Sykes and Company. We the best, Sykes and Company. Your accounting is a mess, there's no need for you to stress. Go online and request from the best. We the best, Sykes and Company. We the best, Sykes and Company, yes.
Well, Vanessa Luu is on the podcast today, Bonnie, and we're glad to have her on with EnlivenHealth. She is the Reconciliation Supervisor. So reconciliation, as anybody who's listened to us or seen any of our content knows, it is a big issue for pharmacies because it is your money, and just assuming you're getting paid is not something you should be assuming. Because we've seen instances, right, Bonnie, where, and I'm sure, Vanessa, you've seen instances probably where monies are not getting to the pharmacy. Maybe they're going to a different pharmacy. You're not getting paid in 20 days like you thought. It's more like 60 days. So, there's some things out there that help in terms of reconciliation, make sure you're getting paid. And there's just a whole lot of additional data you can get from these systems to help you know more about how you're getting paid, who's paying you, the aging on those payments, and so forth. So there's just a lot of good information there, in addition to making sure you are getting paid and getting that data into your accounting file so you can accurately record revenues and accurately then be able to determine your gross profit and your net income. And obviously the gross profit's one of the number one KPIs in pharmacy. So having that accurate revenue and third-party receivables is critical to that. So
yeah, I mean, Vanessa,
Yep.
we have so many potential clients come to us, or people that go through our RX assessment process. It's very scary to us how many people we see that don't even have a third-party reconciliation service or are not doing any sort of, or attempting any sort of internal reconciliation.
It's alarming.
Of their accounts.
Mm-hmm.
It is scary. Because like Scotty mentioned, even when we work on our current clients and we see, we pull those reports from you guys and other services that do the same. It's very common that we just see one of the, providers or whatever just stop pay. I mean, there's no payments coming, and we bring that to their attention. Hey, look at this line. It's building. Over time, 60 days, 90 days. And we find that for whatever reason, something has stopped. They're not being paid. And that's in a situation where they're using a service like yours. They're keeping things reconciled. If you did not have something like that in place, I don't know how you could sleep at night knowing that you may or may not be getting paid.
You wouldn't be able to. Just having visibility, period. And that just taking outside of just business, your own bank accounts. If you have zero visibility, how do you even know where you stand? So that's where it starts. With your folks that are seeing these stop payments just out of the blue and having a service, then if they didn't have any type of visibility, they wouldn't have even had a notification unless they stumbled upon it themselves. So it's just having simple terms, just awareness that's the kicker right there. We started out back in the day balancing our checkbooks. Not a lot of people know what to do with the checkbook nowadays, but you started physically tracking your money, balancing it out. And that's all it's doing with the vast amount of balancing out pharmacies need to do with 20, 30 insurance companies are billing every single day.
Right.
So yeah, just start seeing it.
We've pushed on the podcast so many times the importance of your financial statements, period, and having those up to date and as often as quickly as possible at the close of the month. With the two main, in my opinion, accounts on that balance sheet being your inventory and your third-party receivables. Having a perpetual inventory system in place to know exactly what you have on the shelf. And then, like we're talking about here, that third-party receivable number, knowing that number is correct and as close to the penny as possible at the end of the month. It's the only way you're going to get correct numbers, legitimate numbers to look at that P&L to know how your pharmacy is operating. If it's off, then it means nothing one way or the other. It could sway the bottom line completely. So we push that, and we appreciate you helping us validate that point that we're trying to make.
Yeah. Just it just takes a collaborative effort from our reconciliation standpoint of helping you guys leverage the data that we see, because the data is coming from the PMS, it's coming from the switch, it's also coming from the insurance companies, and just reading and translating that to something that you guys can take to help the businesses themselves. That's where that teamwork and collaboration comes across. We work with you guys pretty closely, a lot. So that definitely helps the customers' bottom line. Period. When it comes to folks not having reconciliation at all, just you got to ask yourself, how would you even start if you didn't have a tool to use? Point blank. How am I even going to cut my grass if I now have a front yard to mow if I don't have a lawnmower? So you've got to get the right tool in place. Are you able to use a tool? Fantastic. Do you need a little bit of help? Either way, there's going to be something that's going to give you at least some type of peace of mind, and that starts with the visibility and knowing where your dollars are.
Right.
So it is. It's just very important, if you just think about it, that your revenue, that you have a grasp on the revenue coming into the business. Being a business owner and just assuming you're getting your revenue is just not sound business. What's the term I'm looking for here? Management? I don't know. You got to know your money. You got to know your revenue. And so receivables is a big piece to that. And so I guess my question, Vanessa, is like, what do you see? I want to start off with some kind of like, what do you see the issues? Like if pharmacies that don't have receivable are tracking receivables and are assuming they get paid, what are some things you've seen where, hey, don't assume you're getting paid because I've seen, this happen or this happen?
Right. A lot of it can just go into the paper pushing behind when the money is going to be received. Let's just say, for instance, pharmacy changed your bank accounts, or a physical pharmacy actually moved locations, right? They did not finish the paperwork to say, okay, my physical address has changed. So pharmacy insurances will stop if all the information is not up to date. It ends up becoming more of an admin error. We help catch those things just by figuring out this is what happened, being that extra person, getting on the phone and finding that out so the pharmacist can work towards being CLIA waived versus standing on the phone with the patient at the counter, and what they're trying to figure out these admin issues, billing insurance, and also getting CLIA waived. So that's one of the issues, just when it comes to the admin work not being completed. Other instances, as you mentioned it at the very beginning, checks were getting sent to physical wrong pharmacy. That comes down to human error, not throwing anyone under the bus, but we're all humans.
There's always going to be error.
Insurance companies, there's going to be error. So catching those things and having that extra team member just to make that phone call. Quite simply, just not knowing where to start, right? Or who to call. Is it my PSAO? Is it my PMS? Is it my switch? Is it my CPA? Not even knowing. So having any type of service, just someone you can call and get pointed in the right direction. That's a big kicker.
I have a question, Vanessa. Often I work especially with a lot of startups, so people who are starting and they're trying to save money. And so sometimes they're like, we don't need that service right now. I'm going to do it myself. What is your experience with maybe seeing some that have come on board that have been doing that, trying to do it themselves? I mean, obviously we know, because we say it the same with accounting, with legal services that are needed, with pharmacy. We want to see our pharmacists spend time growing their pharmacy, working with their patients, working with providers. Don't spend your time with things like this, back office sort of functions, accounting, reconciliation, payroll. But that aside, what have you seen? What's your experience with people trying to do this themselves? Like, how does that normally go?
It's tedious, very, very
Yeah.
tedious. My question is always about how much time are you spending?
Right.
And that just tracks into how much time would they rather be spending doing other things? And that would be all the
Right.
things that you had mentioned, spending time with their patients, growing their business, working
Right.
directly with providers, other pharmacists. Over the years, especially during the pandemic, we're partnering up to get a pharmacy and a clinic together. So they're trying to grow their business. But then the billing for the vaccination was completely different. So
Right.
having the time to learn and grow in those ways instead of spending the time tracking claim by claim on paper or just from Excel spreadsheets,
Right.
that is tedious. That's maybe
There's too much
reconciliation 20
technology out
years
there
ago.
to be
Exactly.
trying to do that. Yeah.
Mhm,
The people that I've
exactly.
seen try to do
You
it are
can't.
literally back there handwriting, like you mentioned, or maybe if they're advanced enough in Excel spreadsheet and
Mhm.
watching those 835s come through and trying to keep track. I cannot imagine running a pharmacy and trying to do that.
Mhm. And it's it gets even more difficult, especially if you think of the different types of reporting and if pre and post edits are
Right.
included or not. So when you're doing it by hand without a system or a service or a software that doesn't have any reporting readily available, then you're just
Nightmare.
ending up spinning your wheels. You're
Right.
spinning your wheels.
Yeah, it's not even an option, really.
Mhm.
But if you're a
Scotty,
pharmacy out
people are
there,
doing it. People are doing it.
well,
I just want to say that.
yeah, well, you know, good luck to you on that.
Yeah.
So once a pharmacy has engaged with Enliven, they're getting the reconciliation set up. Vanessa, what are some of the I guess quick pointers on best practices for what pharmacies need to do on a day-to-day basis to maintain and manage their reconciliation? Because it is not a just sign up for Enliven and then I don't have to worry about it type thing.
Oh yeah.
It does
No, there's
require some
correct.
partnership there and some.
Which I'm sure you guys are aware that if you could ever come up with something that would do that, that would be a game changer.
right. Let me. I'll put it in the suggestion box. It's probably
Yeah,
already
if
got
you could just
juices
have like
flowing to it.
an all in, never have to look at it, never have to worry. It's definitely correct. That
Right.
would be awesome. Yeah. But until then,
yes. No, just being engaged is one of the main points, and that is from the second that you sign up for services. With the reconciliation, there are two different service models, but either one to get the best start is just being engaged, and that's even with our onboarding. A lot of folks, once you sign, you do have to do some admin work when it comes to making sure that we're receiving all the digital information from the different places we need the data from. And sometimes that can take some time, but staying engaged through and through onboarding, and then once you're live with the service, the first thing to do on the reconciliation portal is just to mainly verify your deposits. That's going to be the way that your age receivables is going to be as accurate as possible, because you're feeding into the system, the data is getting there, how many dollars have come in. You just have to check a little box to say that that money hit the bank, and then it starts naturally relieving from the age receivables. So engagement, that's a big factor when it comes to the paperwork, just to make sure all the data is rolling through, and then staying engaged by letting the system know that you've received the dollars.
On a timely basis.
On the timely basis, yes.
We'll see some folks verify deposits twice a month,
Mm-hmm.
and timing throws everything off.
or less than that.
Yeah.
Or less than that. Yeah.
Because, for anybody listening, as far as what we do here at Sykes, when as soon as the month stops, we're ready to roll with financials. And so obviously, like I mentioned, we have to make sure we're adjusting to inventory balances at the end of the month. That's a whole nother topic. And also third-party receivables. That's a big one. So we are pulling those reports from you guys. And what we want in a perfect world is to know that those reports are correct and to adjust to the penny to what is showing is still outstanding, that is a receivable at the end of the month. When we pull those reports, if we start to see, that's where a lot of it sometimes happens, is we're the ones that notice it, because maybe the client isn't really paying attention to their dashboard and their reports. They're not doing those, uploading those items like they should be and clicking those things off as they receive them. And so we can look at the reports and just clearly tell that it's not right.
Right.
Just by, we start to see huge numbers in like an over 90-day column and things like that.
Are we
and
sure
so
there should be more money in the bank
that
account?
seems wrong, or that seems very high, and so boom, right then we cannot use that report for the end of the month. And then we have to estimate. And then, we have ways to do that we can get decent numbers, but again, it's not firm. And it's, the only way to know that we're getting good numbers and know how that pharmacy is operating is to get a good report, to do your reconciliation as often as possible, to keep that report current and correct, and then we can adjust to it.
Yep. The recommendation
it's such a great tool if it's done right.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're fine.
For sure. Just to add on top of that, the recommendation is at least once a week. If we've got some pharmacy members that are highly engaged or they've got it delegated, delegation's the other thing. If you have a big pharmacy staff, or you're also the only pharmacist for the next month because you let somebody else go on vacation finally. It's delegation is a key there. Just have somebody log in. Our team, if you want other people trained within your pharmacy, so we can be a point of contact for them outside of always reaching directly to the pharmacy owner, then they would just have to let us know so that we can work with other team members within the pharmacy. We like to think of ourselves as an extension to the pharmacy team, just working on this other side.
That is a huge word though, delegation. I'm glad you brought that up. That's something I used to preach to, and I had kind of forgotten about it, but in many different areas of the pharmacy, but especially with something like this, again, definitely don't do it yourself. But even further than that, like, don't even try to be the one necessarily that's doing this part. I mean, people can do this. Trusted people in your pharmacy, trusted staff can be taught something like this. This is where we start to get in really deep with stuff in pharmacy when we talk about equipment and technology, robotics, even that, you can replace the need for some of the staff, not to get rid of them, but to put them in other areas of the pharmacy that are very important, like something like this.
Where you need more human touch versus technology.
This area needs more human touch. Until you guys get it completely automated, and then we'll move along to something else. But that is huge. Delegation is huge. Using people in the right places. And again, the owner not having to sit back in the back office and doing this. That's a great point, Vanessa.
I'll also plug that we have a dedicated contact here, Kathy. Got to give Kathy a shout out.
Kathy Blanchard.
Reconciliation. I mean, come on. She's our head reconciliation guru here at Sykes Company, and she got a great relationship with you guys, Vanessa, and
we love her.
We appreciate all y'all do for our clients and for Kathy, and troubleshoot any issues that do come up. But yeah, we have that dedicated contact that's we find very valuable for our clients. So we appreciate y'all doing.
Even when you're doing this right, and even the great systems you guys have in place. This is a very, like you said, a tedious task.
It's tedious. It still takes collaboration. Yeah, Kathy
and you're
is
dealing
fantastic.
with multiple, people and groups, and it's there's always something. So even in a perfect situation, there's going to be things that need some, like you said, human touch and help from you guys. So it is great to have Kathy work with. We just kind of send it her way. If I start to see some reports look bad, talk to the team. I'm like, you guys need to reach out to the client, and then also let's pass it to Kathy. And we have what do we call that list? It's not the naughty list. It's just like a problem list with you guys.
I have no idea what
that we keep and update. I mean, it's a running, and they get off the list once they get cleaned up. Sometimes
we just call that our Sykes communication list.
Okay,
now I'm hearing about.
Oops.
Yeah.
No, we work with Kathy. We meet with her at least once a month. I know there's even sometimes I see an email. Hey, Vanessa, can you give me a quick call? I just have another question. There's only 1 hour time difference, so I'll call her and she'll, we'll take care of what we need to. And then seeing her in person, I've seen her at a handful of trade shows. Just big old smile, and always just for the customer first. She'll say, hello, it's great to see you, and then it's down to business.
Yes.
Yep.
So have that collaborative spirit with
and
y'all.
I got to plug the Master of the Margin podcast while we're speaking about Kathy. She's on that with me.
One other thing to mention, like we mentioned, getting these numbers correct, these reports correct at the end of the month is huge because obviously we're doing those financials. But as we are wrapping up the year here, we're already in November, it is even more important than ever to make sure that these numbers are correct and cleaned up before year end, because those are the numbers that we're going to be using, that your CPAs will be using, whoever does your tax returns for your tax work. And so if those receivable numbers are off, that can make a huge difference to what is going on in the tax department for the pharmacy. So
yes, yeah, and again, that's just being engaged, whether you have the base service level or any type of reconciliation out there. If you guys have our full service levels, just get with the team, make a plan to meet prior to the end of the year, because it will take some time, even if there's headway to be made. Paper EOBs are not fun. They're not fun for pharmacists to sit there and scan them in. We still have folks that fax EOBs over. So when it comes to just technologying, we still receive fax machines.
It's interesting that you bring this up. I think we had this conversation the other day. Was it you, Scotty, that was like, people still use a fax machine? Were you in that conversation?
Who still uses a fax machine?
Your brother?
The IRS.
I know, but I cannot believe either. I mean, I don't know when the last time I actually faxed. I don't even know if I could fax if I tried to fax right now. I'm not sure I know how anymore.
IRS.
Well, but the IRS is actually the last thing that I had to send to them. They're using like the barcode scanner things, which was impressive. But
the QR
the QR codes, which I was like, that's cool. I used it, and then the next notice that we got said that the form I sent was blank. I'm like, that's impossible because it has not. So I don't know if it worked.
Like I said, the IRS. You want to talk about an agency that is way. I'm talking. Behind. This is off topic, but IRS 20 years, 30 years behind where they should be. They are way outdated. Anyway, that's, I guess,
a fax machine. We should move along. We should move past the fax. It's time. It's time for everybody to move past the fax. But
it's just being prepped. Just to tie back into prepping for tax season is just mainly just staying engaged. Meet with your team, set a plan to just go over the age receivables and make sure all the ducks are in the row. Because what we're trying to do is always find those golden goose eggs of $0 past the 60 days. And if there's things that are questionable in the age receivables that we can make a plan, we still need time to put that plan in place to clear it off so the numbers are there. So again, just staying engaged and being involved, because there's only so much that we can do without the authority of the data.
There's two things that drive me crazy when we're looking at these reports that clients want to do. One is maybe the over 60 or 90 days are just small little items, $13, $12, $100. And they're like, just it's fine. It drives me crazy because regardless of the amounts, I'm like, that is money and it adds up over time. We can't just ignore small items. That's me. But anyway.
Bonnie's a penny pincher.
I'm just like, send it to me. Like, I'll do the work. Anyway, the second thing is large numbers that it just gets out of control. And I think it's overwhelming for some people when they start to know, I mean, it's their fault. They've let it go and then they just kind of want to clear it. Let's just clear the whole report out and start fresh. I mean, I sort of get that, but again, we're back to what if there were some big items out there that you actually weren't paid for. Maybe they were paid for a lot of it. Who knows? I mean, it just goes back to staying on top of it, and it won't get as overwhelming if you stay
bite sizes.
Correct.
Yep. Just bite sizes, week by week, little by little. If there's anything with the reconciliation services that we provide that you think that is needed, send it in. Better to be safe than sorry.
Right.
We'd prefer more information to sift through than to ask for more from you guys. Because if you guys are taking the physical time to stop what you're doing for your own personal lunch, your patients, you're having the insurance just to send us the information over, just send a little bit more than needed. And that definitely helps with the bottom line.
She gave us a bottom line.
There you go.
That is the bottom line.
That is
Right
the
there.
bottom line. Delegation's my bottom line for today.
It definitely helps
I'm
out.
glad you brought it up. That's
I like
my
engaged.
key.
I like how Vanessa said engaged, because having that relationship with Enliven there with your representative is huge.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a partnership. I started back in 2017. I came from the retail pharmacy side prior to then. So going full circle, I was still learning a complete different language, going to the pharmacy tech side and then independent pharmacy. And even though I was still learning how the software worked, how the actual platform worked, the main thing was building a relationship with my pharmacies.
Yeah.
Just because they kept me in the know, and sometimes it didn't matter if the age receivables was completely inflated. They had someone that was keeping them informed.
That understood why, right?
Then they understood why, and we built a plan. And then we're in. And actually, that was one of the pharmacies I found missing money, 11 grand, Georgia Medicaid. Mailed it to a little old lady in a different zip code.
It happens. I'm
And
telling you,
happens.
we
It
see
does
it too.
happen.
And that all came down because a pharmacy was behind on verifying their deposits. We finally were able to get them caught up, and there were just a few things just sticking out that were older. When we did the researching, so like we swear this 11 grand did not hit the bank account. We've changed bank accounts since then. It didn't go in that one. Found out, did the researching, and it got mailed to some little lady. Pharmacy owner actually knocked on the lady's door, and she was like, "I've just had it, so here you go." And then we got a new check reissued because it expired. So people are still great, but when it comes to just keeping on top of it, it can get overwhelming, and it just snowballs. So even if it's just piecemeal, little bits and pieces of information to your team over here, whatever we can do to help, that will help the age receivables in entirety.
That poor old lady thought she won the Publishers Clearing.
Is it still a thing anymore?
I don't know.
Do they even do sweepstakes?
I don't know.
We don't say anything sweepstakes anymore.
My grandma used to do that, Publishers Clearinghouse.
What was his name? Ed McMahon? He would come to your door?
I don't know who it was.
I think that's right. Austin, you can edit that out if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right on that.
I don't think it was Ed McMahon, so I think you're wrong on that one.
Hold on. I think I'm going to have to look it up.
I was just going to the Google.
Well, Vanessa, we certainly appreciate just ignore Bonnie right now. We certainly appreciate you coming on the podcast here, and especially what you guys do for our clients. A lot of value there, and we certainly appreciate your help and attention to their needs, because they're wearing a lot of hats, they're doing a lot of things, so any support they can get is great. So we appreciate that.
I would like to end with the fact that I was wrong.
I told you were wrong.
All I did was search Publishers Clearinghouse before I could finish. It said Ed McMahon did not work for Publishers Clearinghouse, but some people think he did. This is an example of the Mandela effect, which is when people mistakenly believe something that is not true.
So who was it?
I don't know. But
Well,
he
the
looked like him.
Mandela effect, you think you're getting paid, but maybe you're not.
Oh, that's the bottom
he's
line.
definitely okay, this might be another whole episode. There's like a whole rabbit hole. There's videos about, did Ed McMahon really work for Publishers Clearinghouse? So I think there's something intriguing about this. So,
you can go down that
to be
rabbit hole.
continued.
Yeah.
You have to tune in next time after I do my research.
Next time with Ed McMahon.
On the bottom line, I guess. Did Ed McMahon really work for Publishers Clearinghouse?
Maybe he can do a cameo.
Is he alive?
Potentially.
Scotty?
Oh, we can.
I don't know. Maybe he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, AI can take care of that now.
Yeah.
But no, we appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah,
if we did not have groups like you guys doing that, this work, and bless your heart for doing this day in and day out.
Hey, it's what we all do, and it's collectively what we all do for the pharmacies, because they're the real troopers right here.
Yeah.
We've all been in this industry through the pandemic, even prior to then, and just seeing the leaps and bounds that they've been able to even just work more at the top of their license over the past 4 years. It's crazy. State by state, things are changing. So it's just whatever we can help do to help them grow their business, because that's why we did it in the first place. I never
Yep.
thought I'd be a part of the pharmacy world for this long, since I started as a cashier at Walgreens in 2010, but it's crazy where it takes you.
Yeah, it is. And it's
And
great. I
it's-
love working with this industry to see how they just develop with the different things that hit them, and they just keep rolling and figuring out ways to make it work.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a special industry. We're lucky to be a part of it.
We are.
Some great folks.
Well,
Well, thank you, Vanessa. We
have
certainly
another
appreciate
chit-chat.
your time today.
Yeah, we'll have you back on. Appreciate it. And thanks for joining, everybody.
Yes.